Good morning. Good morning, students. Hello. It's Tuesday, April the 14th, and I'm glad you're back with our lesson. I want to say hello to a few people. Hello, Elise. Hi, Leah. Kalik. What's up? Hi, Sasha. Krishana. Hi, Fumake. Kalicia. Dante. Jamar. Hi, Brendan. Johnny. Hi, Harper. Allison. Charisma. Hello, Shamad. Guys, thank you for some of you that were able to join us last week for our Zoom where we got to see each other. Some of you have come both times. If you haven't made it yet, try to come this Friday at 11 o'clock. I want to start this morning with a little story. It's called Metamorphosis. Remember back a few months ago when we studied life cycles? We're going to revisit that again in the next few weeks. Remember the word metamorphosis? It's what happens when an animal changes its body from one form to another. Butterflies and frogs are probably the best known examples of animals that go through metamorphosis. The butterfly begins its life as an egg, and then it hatches into a caterpillar. And after growing and shedding its skin several times, remember the caterpillar turns into a chrysalis. And the outer layer of chrysalis hardens to become a protective shell. Within the chrysalis, the caterpillar completely transforms into a beautiful butterfly. Remember, we studied the frog, and the frog also starts its life as an egg. The egg grows into a tadpole that lives in the water, and over the next few weeks, the tadpole's mouth gets wider, and its eyes bulge out, and then its tail shrinks and shrinks until it completely disappears. Just a few more changes, and then it transforms into a frog, ready to hop away by itself. If you were to look at before and after pictures of butterflies and caterpillars, or tadpoles or frogs, you would think they were completely different creatures. But that's what a metamorphosis is. It's a change, a complete change. If people went through metamorphosis, what would you change? I got to thinking about that. Would you want wings to fly with? Would you want legs really strong to be able to jump very high? We don't really get to change like that, but we can work on changing ourselves. Look at this little picture here. We can work on changing something about ourselves if we want to. Suppose there's something that you haven't been doing that you want to start doing. Maybe you could change. Maybe you could change an attitude to be helpful at home. Maybe you could change an attitude with our siblings, maybe, and make sure everybody gets along. Maybe there's nothing you need to change. Maybe you're doing a great job. I hope so this morning. Let's get started today with our lessons. Okay. Go ahead and pull out your Riggs journal. Okay. Your Riggs journal is where you're writing your words. You're keeping track with all the words that Miss Gaylor gave you. And we're going to continue. Now, yesterday I gave you the first 6 words of the week. Now, don't forget to make sure you're typing those words into the form. And after Wednesday, when you get all 3 lessons, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can write your 3 sentences and then you can press the turn in button. Okay. Don't forget to press the turn in button. That's the only way that Miss Gaylord is able to check your work. Okay. So get a piece of paper handy and a pencil, and I want you to write the words that we learned yesterday. And remember, after you're through, have someone check or you check with your Riggs journal and see if you got them right. And then you write them out 3 times each, remember? And then type the words for today and your sentences into the form that Miss Gaylord gave you, okay? All right, number 1. Number 1 is grief. Grief. I had grief over the fact I could not see my friends. Grief. Sadness. Number 2, guilty. Guilty. The man was found guilty of the crime. guilty. Number 3, fluffy. Fluffy. I saw a fluffy bunny over Easter. Fluffy. Remember, fluffy and guilty are both what part of speech? Adjectives. Good. Number 4, swell. Swell. My ankle will swell if I sprain it. Swell. To get larger. It can be a verb or it could be a adjective, and it means swell or good. Number 5, account. Account. Can you account for the change? Account. And number 6 is frost. Frost. I did not leave my plants out in the frost. Frost. Now, frost can be a noun or a verb. Here it was used as a noun. Okay? Very good. Okay. If you need to press pause, do so. And if you are ready, let's pull out our journal and let's write today's words. Okay? The first word today is study. Study. How many syllables does study have? 2. Very good. Study starts with a S. Now, S makes 2 sounds. S, Z. It's the first sound, S, so no markings. T, 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 T. Good. T makes 1 sound, no markings. Study. What are the sounds of U? U, U, It's the first one. The first sound, no markings. D, 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 D. Very good. D makes 1 sound, no markings. Okay? That's the first syllable. Syllable dot. E there. How do we spell the E? With a Y. Very good. Okay. Y makes 4 sounds. Ya, it, I, E. Which one? The E. Very good. So we put the 3 above the Y for study. Study. The second word today is district. District. How many syllables is district? 2. Very good. Okay. A district is a noun, and a district would be a place that covers a certain area. We go to school in the Chatham County District, okay? So we would start with a D. Very good, okay? D has 1 sound, so no markings. I, I. What are the sounds of I? I, E. So it's the first one. I. Very good. S. Okay, perfect. What are the sounds of S? Z. Okay, so it's the first sound, no markings. Syllable dot. Nice job. Tricked. Tricked. T, t, T. T has 1 sound, no markings. R, R, 1 sound, no markings. I. What are the sounds of I? E. I is the first sound of I. So I makes the first sound, so we do not mark it. K, 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 C. Now C makes what sounds? K, S. Since it's the first K, we do not mark it. Very good. And T, 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 T. No markings. T makes one sound. District. Okay, very good. Actually, no markings on district. Okay, very good. The next word is a noun. Eagle. Eagle. Okay, how many syllables in eagle? 2. E. Okay, now what is the sound of E? E, A. It's a 2-letter sound, so we underline it. E, E-A can be E, or A. E. So it's the first sound, so no markings. Okay, then you need a syllable dot. G, 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 G. G makes how many sounds? 2. G, J. It's the G in eagle, no markings because it's the first sound. L, L, L. Very good. L has no markings. It is one sound. And then the job of the E is job number 4. Okay, a word cannot end in the consonant there. So the job really is a no job. E, just it takes its place and it's silent. Eagle. Very good. Okay, those are the first 3 words. If you need to press pause, do so. The next word is scalp. Scalp. How many syllables in scalp? 1. What is your scalp? Okay, that's your scalp there. The skin right there on your head. Your scalp starts with a S. S has 2 sounds. S, Z. The first sound is S. No markings because it's the first sound. K, 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 C. C makes 2 sounds. K, S is the first. K. So there's no markings. Okay. A. What are the sounds of A? A, aw. A, scalp. It's the a, so it's the first sound. L, L, L. L has 1 sound, no markings, and P. P has 1 sound, no markings. Now, scalp can be 2 parts of speech. It can be your scalp, or do you remember when we read in Little House on the Prairie? The girls were worried about Indians that were scalping others. Taking the hair off somebody's head is to scalp. Scalp. Good. Okay. The next word on our list is crush. Crush. How many syllables in crush? 1. K, 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 C. Okay. C has 2 sounds. K, S. It's the first sound, no markings. R, R. R has 1 sound. R, R, no markings. U. What are the sounds of U? U, oo, First sound, no markings, and sh. 2-letter sh. So we underline it. Sh. That we can use at the beginning of a word, at the end of a word. Okay? Remember that? Crush, sh. Now, the next word is a little bit tricky. It's what we call a homonym. What does Miss Gaylord mean by a homonym? Okay, when 2 words sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Okay, you know homonyms. We've talked about homonyms all year. What are some examples of some homonyms. Homonyms. Okay, remember we talked about there's 3 ways to spell to. To, the preposition, to also, and to, the number 2. Remember, those are homonyms. Okay, what's another example of a homonym? Okay, see, I can see you out there. And sea, let's go down to the sea, like the beach. Okay, so today's word is morning. How many syllables in morning? 2. Now, it's not the morning like I got up this morning early. It's the other kind of morning. If I'm in mourning, I'm going to be very sad and I'm going to what we call mourn or be sad about something. Okay, Miss Gaylord has been mourning the loss of her mom. How do you spell morning when it's not daylight? Okay, it also is 2 syllables, morning, but it does not spell the same way. It does start with a M. M makes 1 sound, no markings. Now, let's look at this sound. This is a 2-letter sound, O-U. Okay? A, O, U, A, O, more, O, more. It's the second sound. O, O, the O-U makes the 1 sound. O, morning, like or. Okay? With the R, we add the no markings. Okay? And then to mourn is to be sad about something. This has the 2-letter or, mourn, syllable dot. And then what do you think it ends with? I-N-G. Now remember the 2-letter sound of N-G. Ng, morning, morning, morning. 2-syllable word. The homonym to this morning would be to take the U out, and that would be like good morning. Okay, this is the kind of morning that we have today. Those are your 6 words. If you need to pause and make sure you have them down correctly, do so. Thank you. Let's look at the parts of speech today. Okay. Do you see any words on our list today that are nouns? Go to somewhere in your journal. Hopefully you have a journal or some paper that you can write your nouns on. Do you see any words that could be? Some of them can be 2 parts of speech. This word can, a study. If I'm going to do a study on life cycles, that actually could be a noun, a study. Okay, another noun on our list is district. District. The district sent report cards to our homes. District. What else can be a noun? Eagle. An eagle is a person, place, thing, or idea. Okay, this one would be a thing. Very good. All of these are things. Okay, another word that can be both is a scalp. If I'm talking about my scalp, that's a thing. These words can be nouns, a study, a district, an eagle, a scalp. All right, what words in here can be verbs? Some of them can be both, remember? Verbs. Which one? Yes, good. To study. I need to study more. Study. Scalp. Okay, it is not common practice to scalp anyone, to take off their hair and their scalp. Another word would be crush. Crush. Okay. And if you use the word mourn, it would be a verb. If you take apart the word mourning, to mourn someone, that could be a verb. Mourning. Now, we don't have any adjectives today. We just have our nouns and verbs, okay? If you need to press pause and get caught up, you can do that now, okay? We're going to get ready to go over our phonograms today. Okay, while you're catching up, let me remind you, this is a great time for you to be reading as much as possible, okay? So after you've done your 20 minutes every day in your iReady reading and 20 minutes in your iReady math, you can, this is a great time for you to be picking up. It's been nice weather. How about taking a book outside in your backyard? How about finding a place in your house that you can read or read out loud to someone? Okay. Or you could look online. There's lots of books right now. There's people that are videoing stories. You can find some. Did you see that our own Maddie from fourth grade was on the CBS Morning News? She has been reading books to people online to help their feelings of kind of sorrow, of people being at home right now. She's been reading books. What a nice gesture to do. You might want to look up her website wherever she's been reading them. I'm not sure, but that's something that you can look on the SCA weekly update to find out. But what a nice idea to read to someone. I'm just so proud of Maddie. Let's look as we go over our phonograms for today. What are the four sounds of A? A, aw, C, k. Say them out loud now. D, d, F, one sound. G, two sounds. G, j. Very good. Okay. O, four sounds. A, O, U, Nice. S, two sounds. S, Z. Q, U, one sound. Qu. B, one sound. B. E, two sounds. E. Good. H, one sound. H. I, three sounds. I, E. Good. J, one sound. J. K, one sound. K. L, one sound. L. M, one sound. M. N, one sound. N. P, one sound. P. R, one sound. T, one sound. T. U, four sounds. U, Good. V, one sound. V. W, one sound. W. X, one sound. X. Y, four sounds. Yeah, I, E. Good. Which word on our list had the E form of Y? Study. Good job. Z, one sound. Z. Okay, let's look at our two-letter sounds. The of her. The of early. The of works. The of nurse. The of first. Shh. Used at the beginning of a word, at the end of a syllable, but not at the beginning of most syllables, after the first one, except for the ending ship. What word on our list had the sh sound? Crush. Crush. Good. E always says E. Th. A, two-letter A that we do use at the end of English words. A, two-letter A that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. Good. Ow, oh, cow and snow. Ow, oh, ooh, What word on our list had a two-letter sound? Morning. O-U in morning. Good job. All that we do use at the end of English words. All that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with you. OU that we do use at the end of English words. OU that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with you. Oi that we do use at the end of English words. Oi that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? English words do not end with I. Oo, o. Good. Ch, k, sh, ch, k, sh. Nice. Ng. What word on our list had a ng at the end? Morning. Good job. E-a. What word on our list had a E sound? Eagle. Yes, eagle. R, k. Two-letter k that we use after a single vowel that says a, e, I, a. Ed, d, t. Past tense ending. Or. Good. Hua. Oo, I, Oo, I, Good. O, the O of boat. A-E that we do use at the end of English words. A-E that we do not use at the end of English words. Why not? Because English words do not end with I. A, four-letter A. I, three-letter I. E-I, our backwards phonogram. We say E-I, but we write I-E unless it's after a C. N, two-letter N, used at the beginning of a base word. Two-letter F, two-letter F. N, two-letter N, used both at the beginning and end of a base word. J, three-letter J, used after a single vowel that says a, e, I, a. O, the O of toe. Ch, three-letter ch, used after a single vowel that says a, e, I, a. Sh, short letter sh, used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. Sh, tall letter sh, used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. Sh, z, used at the beginning of any syllable after the first one. And o, oo, of, off, all, ow. Very good. You did a terrific job today with your phonogram cards. Okay, pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. Today, you know what Miss Gaylord has? Every time you get a star, you get a star. Today, you get 1 star today. Good job. Okay, don't let me forget that. Very good. All right, so today, if you need to press pause, take a quick break, do so before we get started back in our math lesson today. Now, in our math lesson, Miss Gaylord has loaded the materials onto your Google Classroom. So you can print out and see what we're working on. If you have a printer, you can write it. I know some of you have been writing it. You've been uploading it and turning it in. Thank you. After the lesson, if you don't have a printer and you want to make notes while we are working, draw pictures while we are working just on a piece of paper. And then don't forget, each day for homework, there is a Google Classroom homework assignment, okay? It is from, the only one we could find was on fractions. It was from a company called Quizzes. It counts as a homework, classwork, but you need to complete it every day. It's on fractions, okay? And it should tell you the grade you make after you do it. So don't forget to finish it every day and press the turn in button. If you have your book today, we are on 266. 266. We've been talking about dividing up shapes, okay, into equal parts. Now, Miss Gaylord has a couple of shapes she wants to pull out today, okay? What shape did we learn this was? Okay, good. It's a square. It's also called a quadrilateral. Nice, okay. I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to divide it up into parts. We did this as a little review from yesterday, okay? So if I wanted to divide this up, I could divide it two ways. Let's say I wanted to divide it up into two parts, okay? All right, I could, now this is not going to be exact, but I could make two parts out of it, okay? Here's an example to show you in orange, okay? This is one part, and this is the second part, okay? Do you see how I divided that square up into two parts? Now, a square can be turned this way, or it could be turned this way, okay? This way or this way. These two parts make up the one white square, okay? Two parts and make up the one square. What do we call the parts if we have two equal parts? Do you remember that word? Halves. Very good. Halves. Okay. What if I took my same white square and I wanted to divide it up into three parts? Am I going to be able to do that? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to take these parts, these blue parts, and I'm going to divide it into 1, 2, and 3. Do you see that it took up the same amount of space? There's nothing overlapping. It's the same amount of space. Now watch this. 1, 2, and 3. What do we call parts if we can divide them up one square into 3 parts? Do you know the word? 3 equal parts are called thirds. Thirds. They can be turned this way or this way. They are thirds. Okay, very good. Okay, now, what if I have that same square and I want to divide it up into 4 equal parts? Okay, I've got my white square and I want to divide it this time into 4 equal parts. Well, there's 2 ways I can do it. Okay, I can take a rectangular shape. I could divide it into 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts. Uh-oh, only have so many fingers to hold up. Sorry. And 4 parts. Does that take up the same amount of space on my square? It sure does. And now I've divided into 4 parts. Watch this again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I have 4 parts. I can turn them this way, or I can turn them this way. Okay, I still have 4 parts. What do we call parts when you take one square and divide it up into 4 equal parts? I call these parts fourths. Very good. Okay, that's where we're going to be today, looking at these types of activities. Now, there's another way I can divide this square up. I can make the shape a square. Okay, I could make 4 equal parts, and I could divide it up this way as well. Okay, so I can't hold all 4, but that's what it would look like, 4 equal parts. Okay, nice. Let's take our pencil out and let's get ready to do today's activity. Number 2, it says, divide this rectangle into 2 equal parts. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this orange rectangle. Where would I draw my line to divide it into 2 equal parts? Now, there's several answers that you could write down. show me one. Where would I draw my line? Okay, I could draw it down the center and draw your paper to look like that. What's another way that I could do it besides what we call vertically? I could also draw it this way, and it could be a horizontal line. Okay, you pick one way. Doesn't really matter as long as you make two equal parts. Okay, now moving on to number 3. Complete the sentence about the rectangle in problem 2. Use a word from the box at the right. You have to pick. What are the words? Half, third, or fourth. Now, Miss Gaylor just showed you what those were. Now, let's say I drew my line here. When I had this rectangle, what would I call each of these parts? Would it be a half, a third, or a fourth? A half. You write half in the blank. Okay? Now, we're going to take the same rectangle for number 4. Now we're going to divide this rectangle into 3 equal parts. Okay, let's see. I'm going to take my orange and I'm going to show you this is just one way. There's several ways to do it. This is one way. I could make 1, 2, and 3. Does that take up the same amount of space? Sure does. Okay, pardon me. This is one way that I could make the rectangle into 3 equal parts. 1, 2, 3. If I was going to draw that on the rectangle, I could draw it like this. 1, 2, and 3. What if I wanted to choose another way besides this way? Can you think of another way? Okay, this time I'm going to make rectangles that are long and horizontal. This is another way I could draw 3 shapes out of the one rectangle. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, do you see I can draw them horizontally, or I could draw them vertically. Either way you want to choose is fine. Answer number 5. Complete this sentence about the rectangle in problem 4. Use a word from the box at the right. Each part is a blank of the whole rectangle. 1, 2, 3. So we say each part is a third. Very good, a third. Now, number 6 tells you to take the same rectangle and divide it into 4 equal parts. Now, there's several ways that you can do this. Can you think about how you can make 4 equal parts? Okay. You can make 4 equal parts. How can you make 4 equal parts? Well, you can make 2 equal parts and then make 2 more equal parts. Here's one way. 4 equal parts. Can you think of another way you can make 4 equal parts? Okay, draw that same line down the middle, and then you're going to make them vertically. 4 equal parts. 2 ways. You pick one. Then complete number 7. Complete the sentence about the rectangle in problem number 6. Use a word from the box on the right. Each part is a blank of the rectangle. 1, 2, 3, fourths. Very good. Fourths. Okay. Now you're ready to go over to 267. It says, let's talk about it. How many halves are in the big rectangle on problem 2? How many halves did you have? Okay. How many halves if this was it, did you have? Okay. You need to use a good sentence. You would say, there are 2 halves in the whole rectangle. Good sentence. Number 9, how many thirds are in the big rectangle? How many thirds? 1, 2, 3. In a sentence, I would say, there are 3 thirds in the big rectangle. Or you could say, there are 3 thirds in the whole rectangle. If you need to press pause and catch up, you can. Number 10, how many fourths are in the big rectangle? Okay, if I were to make fourths, let's say, how many fourths are in the big rectangle? I can't hold up all 4, but you can see. How many fourths would there be? I only held up 3, but the other one would go here, okay? There are 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many fourths? There are 4 fourths in the big rectangle. Very good. All right, try it another way. Show a different way than what we just showed. I showed you 2 ways. Can you think of another way to divide a rectangle into halves? Now, let me show you the ways that we already used, okay? We already used this way, so do not write this way. We already used this way. Can you think of another way besides those 2 ways to show a half? You got to really put your thinking cap on for this one. Can you think of a way? Some of you got it. I know you did. Good. Okay, there you go. That also is a half to make 2 triangles. Number 12, show another way to make a rectangle into thirds. Okay, show another way to make a rectangle into thirds. Okay, now we had used this way, so let's not use this way. What's another way we could use? 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you can turn them this way, and they can be shown vertically. 1, 2, 3. Very good. How would you draw that? You would draw 1, 2, and 3. Check your work now for 13. Show another way to divide a rectangle into fourths. Okay, so one way we showed was this way. Let's think of another way that we do not show this way because we already showed that way. What's another way that you could divide that rectangle into fourths? Can you think of it? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so you made a rectangle horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4. How would that look? That would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Today's lesson was fun with shapes. Don't forget, what do we call a four-sided figure? All of these are four-sided figures with straight sides. They're not all the same shape, but what are they? They're all called quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals. Good job. Very good. Okay, so let's review a little bit. Don't forget to take the quiz today. Okay, let's quickly review a couple of things we've been talking about. Did you have time to make a money game? I hope so. Did you have time to make a money game? Okay, Miss Gillard's pouring out all her money again to show you her game again. If you want to do something like this, you can do it on paper. You can use a muffin tin. You could use plastic bins. Let's start at the bottom. Today at 37 cents. What change pieces would I use to make 37 cents? I want to use the least amount possible. So would I choose 37 pennies? No. Would I choose 7 nickels and 2 dimes? No. I want to use the biggest thing I could use. Can I use a quarter? Yes. Okay. A quarter is worth 25 cents. What would be the next thing I could use? Can I use a dime? How much is a quarter and a dime? 35 cents. I'm still under 37. And then I would need 2 more pieces. What would I need? I've got a quarter. I've got a dime. And I need 2 more pennies. 2 more pennies. Very good. So I'm going to drop that into the 37 cents. The next one, I have $1.16. $1.16. What's the best way to make a dollar if I have to use change? I'm going to use 4 quarters. 25, 50, 75, $1. I've got 4 quarters. Now I need to make 16 cents. Can I use another quarter? That would be $1.25. Can I use a dime? That would be $1.10. Yes. I need 16 cents. So I have a dime. Do I want to use 6 pennies? Nope. So I try a nickel. How much is a dime and a nickel? 15 cents. Now I need 16 cents. Let's add 1 more. And is that 16 cents? Yes. Very good. Okay, let's do another. 92 cents. Should I use 92 pennies? No. 9 dimes and 2 pennies? No. Should I use 18 nickels? No. Let's try the quarter. Now we're trying to get to 92. Let's try the quarter. How much do I have? 25, another quarter, 50, another quarter, 75. If I do another quarter, that'd be $1. Is that too much? Yes. Okay, so I've got 75 cents plus a dime would be, how much would 75 plus a dime be? 75 cents plus 10 more cents would be 85. Can I use another dime and get 95? No. So I need a quarter and a dime, and I need a nickel. Okay, so I've got 75 plus 10, 85 plus 5, 90. Now I need 2 more cents. What could I put in? 2 pennies. Very good. Okay, and all that would add up to be 92 cents. Let's look at it again. Count it with me, okay? I've got how many quarters? 1, 2, 3. 75 cents plus a dime. 85 cents plus a nickel. 90 cents plus 2 pennies. 92 cents. Now you practice on your own, okay? And you add bills to it as well, okay? Add bills. You can draw out paper money. You can practice counting. How much would this be? 5 plus 10 would be 15 plus 10, 25 plus 5, 30 plus 5, 35. Very good. Okay, so practice your money as much as possible. Another thing I wanted to see if you were practicing was your time. Have you been drawing clocks? To practice the time, what time is it? Look at your shorthand. It's between the 3 and the 4. Look at your longhand. 1 minute past the 5. 3. What's the 5? 25, and 1 minute would be 3:26. Okay, good job. Very good. All right. Do your best to practice those as much as possible. If you need to press pause, you can do so. Get a quick sip of drink. Miss Gaylord's got hers, and we're ready to jump into reading today, okay? If you have found your reading materials, they are on the Google Classroom. We're on page 354. Yesterday, we began with the unit on connecting words and pictures. I showed you my book yesterday, how authors often use an illustrator to draw pictures to connect whatever it is you're learning. Isn't this book much more interesting, connecting the pictures to what you're studying? Okay, so today let's look at page 354, and we're going to read a fantasy story. What is a fantasy story? Say it out loud. What's a fantasy story? Is it a real story? No. Okay, it's a story that's been made up. What's another word for fantasy? Fiction or nonfiction? Fiction. Very good. Now we're going to read to understand what happens, and we're also going to look at the pictures. Now, before you read this story, Mr. March and the Moose, I want you to look at the pictures, okay? Look at picture number 1. Do you see that they are circled? Do you see that they have a picture of a man? Describe that picture to somebody in your room. I see a moose head. See a hat. See a man. See a doorway. Okay, and now then I want to look at picture number 2. Something is different in the 2 pictures. Before you read the story, glance at the pictures, okay? Then we'll read to decide how the words and pictures work together. Now press pause on the tape, please, and I want you to read the story by Wendy Riley called Mr. March and the Moose. Okay, thank you for coming back, and I want to make sure that you have read it before we start. Did you circle any words that you were unfamiliar with? Okay, unfamiliar with. Did you see any word that you hadn't seen before? Okay, hopefully we can explain what those meanings are in the story. Okay, here we go. Mr. March and the Moose. Mr. March could not find his glasses anywhere. He had searched his whole house, and he even poked around his backyard. Can you tell what the story means by poked around? Okay, I remember as a child, my grandmother used to use that word. Don't poke around in my drawers. Like if I would be plundering or looking for something, don't poke around in my drawers, she'd say. Don't look around. But he is looking for something. He's looking for his glasses. He'd even looked around his backyard. And when he came inside, he hung his hat and coat on the coat rack. Okay, do you know what a coat rack is? You can see it in the picture. It's a place to hang things like a hat or coat or maybe a purse. Where could those glasses be? He muttered. I can't see 3 feet without them. And I was so hoping to spot that moose that everyone has been talking about. Now look at picture number 1. Okay. Do you see the glasses? Do you see the moose? Can you tell by picture number 1? Does Mr. March look happy? No. Okay. What does the moose look like in picture number 1? Okay. Do you see the hat? You see that it's on the moose? Let's move on to paragraph number 3. Excuse me, sir, a shy voice said. I believe your glasses are in your shirt pocket. Mr. March jumped. Who had said that? But he reached in his pocket and there were his glasses. When he put them on, he realized he had not hung his coat and his hat on the coat rack after all. Okay, let's look at this story and see what it is asking us for us to do. Okay, let's see if you can tell from the story who cannot see. Who cannot see well? Mr. March. Very good. Okay, Mr. March has a problem. What is the problem for Mr. March? Can you say it out loud? He cannot find his glasses. Very good. Okay, so the pictures in this story help us understand kind of before we read the story, okay, what this story is going to be about. Okay, so on your diagram on page 355, I've divided it up. I'm going to do picture number 1, what the sentences tell, and then picture for the same picture, what the pictures show. Okay, so this is called a graphic organizer. And you're familiar with this. We do this all the time. They've put in part of the answer for you, and they want you to fill in the other part of the answer. Let's look again at the picture. Okay, go to picture 1 up top. What do the sentences in the story tell? They wrote for you, Mr. March cannot find his glasses. So you don't have to write that again. What should we add underneath here? Under Mr. March cannot find his glasses. Okay. When he comes into the house, what does he do? When he comes into the house, he hangs his coat and hat on what? On the moose. Very good. Okay, I'm just going to abbreviate. You're going to have time to write this down. There'll be a form in your Google Classroom where you can type these answers and turn them in. When he comes into the house, he hangs his coat, okay, and hat on the moose. You can tell that from the sentences that we read. What do the pictures show? Look at the moose in the picture. Where is the moose? Can you tell what he's doing? The moose is sticking his head through what? The window. The window. The moose is sticking his head through the window. Okay, and you can continue to write that because I'm running out of room. But you can tell that from picture number 1. If you need to press pause on this and write this down, do so. We're going to move to picture number 2. Someone tells Mr. March where his glasses are. So in picture number 2, okay, now what does the sentence tell? I'm just going to write this here so we can divide this into the organizer. Someone tells Mr. March where his glasses are. Okay, in picture number 2, what did the sentences tell? Mr. March did not hang his coat and hat on what? The coat rack, right? Mr. March did not hang his coat on the coat rack. Can you tell in the second part of the organizer, in the picture, what is going on? Can you look at the picture and tell? The coat and hat are what? On the moose. And what is the moose doing? The moose is smiling. Good. The moose is smiling. Now, if you need to pause and write these down so you can type them into your answers, please do that. Mr. March, look at talk, says he's hoping to see a moose. How does picture 1 help make this line from the story funny? Okay. He's going outside to look for his glasses because he wants to see the moose. But the moose is actually in his window. That makes it funny. Look at your short response. What does Mr. March find out once he puts his glasses on? Think about that. How do the words and pictures help you understand this? And then you have to write your short response. Now, when I graded last week's short response, some of you are not writing like we normally do. Some of you wrote 1 sentence. Okay, we normally write 3 to 4 sentences in the short response. What does Mr. March find out once he put his glasses on? You could say Mr. March finds that the moose is where? Right? How do the words and pictures help you see this? Well, I read the words. They help me understand the story, and the pictures help me see what is going on. Think about that as you write your answers there, okay? Very nice. All right, so if you want to press pause, you now have 2 more stars. 1, 2, 3. Good. You've got 2 more to get. If you need to press pause and take a quick break, do so. We're going to get out our social studies, okay? Our social studies, you have been studying economy. You should click on today the PowerPoint, the last one that says Tuesday, April 14th, okay? Now, Ms. Gaylor will type up and have a document for you to finish the social studies with this week to make sure you've understood all the things that we've covered. And then tomorrow you begin your science unit, okay? The science unit is starting on landforms and deserts. Now, let's review quickly. Which items were goods and services? Tell me a good. Okay, a pair of shoes. Good. What's a good? A purse, a computer, a soccer ball. Very good. Okay, look at the services on the PowerPoint. What are the services? Teachers, doctors, nurses, mailman. Good. Car washer, lawn care, car repair, delivery man. Very good. Okay. We also talked yesterday about benefits. A benefit is something that is good for you. If you eat your vegetables, the benefit is you're going to be healthy. If you eat sweets all the time and live on chocolate and cupcakes, you're not going to be healthy. That's not a good benefit, okay? A benefit is something that's good for you. Now, we talked in the last units that a cost is what you give up for something. Remember the story that we read several times. A brother and sister got an allowance every week. They got so much money. And one saved and one spent it on stuff at the dollar store, other things. And so if you decide to save your allowance for the month, you could have a lot of money. That's a benefit of saving. The cost of saving was what you had to give up. If you save your money, you're not going to be able to get all the little stuff that you could have gotten at the store. But the benefit is that you're going to have more money in the long run. Now, if you look at slide number 4, it says, what are benefits and costs? You have $5 on you, okay? You got $5 maybe for your birthday. You decide you're going to put this away and you're going to save the $5 instead of buying a scooter. Can you tell me what the benefit is? Is the benefit the scooter or the money? Okay. You're going to still have the money, right? So that's your benefit. What you gave up is called your opportunity cost. Very good. Okay. Your friend also has $5. Your friend decides he's going to buy the scooter with his $5. Can you tell me what the benefit of your friend is? He's got the scooter. He can ride around in his scooter. Okay. So the benefit is the scooter that time. Okay. Let's look at slide number 6. We talked about money makes things easier. Okay. Your dad's been saving some money and he has $500. He decides that he's thinking about getting a new computer. The computer's not doing so well and it might be going to break soon. So he's got $500 and he said, I think I might need to buy a new computer for the family. But he says, no, not quite yet. He decides he's going to put that money away and save the money instead of buying a new computer. What's your dad's benefit? Does he have the computer or does he have the money still? He has the money. Very good. Okay. So don't forget to look on the Google form to find any worksheets that you have not completed in social studies. Even, guys, if it's last week or the week before, still find it and press turn in because you have a 0 in my grade book if you have not completed, okay? So it says, don't forget to fill out the Google form sheet and mark turn in. What if you're a saver and you decide you don't want to go spend on all these little things that you could get? What is the benefit of saving your money? Can you tell me? You're going to have money when you want to use it later on, right? Now, we talked about last week and yesterday a little bit about saving money. When you have money, you can either spend it or you can save maybe a portion of it. Okay, we call that a savings account. Okay, Miss Gaylord started a savings account for herself, or her parents did when she was young, and she was able to put money and save. When people save money, this adds up over time. Money can be saved to be used in the future to buy goods or services. If you've saved your money for, let's say, a whole year, what's something that you might want to buy with your money? Can you think of something? Can you tell somebody at the house, maybe, since you can't tell me, what's something you would really like to buy with your money? Well, maybe one day you can buy that if you keep saving, okay? Saving is always a good thing. You got your 4th star for social studies. We have learned all the things we need to learn. Go back and review the PowerPoints on bartering. Remember, trading without paying. You can review on opportunity cost allocation. How do we spend the money? All those things that are in the PowerPoints. Make sure you do that, okay? Very good. All right. The last thing you need to do is pull out, if you have a copy of your Charlotte's Web, let's pull that out now. We have made a good progress. We've read up through 7 chapters in our book. Now, there are chapter quizzes you have to take. There's one on chapter 1 through 3 and one on 4 through 6. And each day, look for the next one that Ms. Gaylor will be putting up on the Google Classroom, okay? Today, we're going to read A Talk at Home. Do you remember that we learned yesterday who is Wilbur's new friend? Charlotte. Charlotte is a what? A spider. Where does Charlotte and Wilbur live? They live in the barnyard. Very good. Okay. So Wilbur wanted a friend desperately, and he tried to get everybody to be his friend. The goose, the gander, the sheep, even the rat named Templeton. And he was very lonely one day, and he said, I just want a friend. And then he heard a voice, a thin, small voice. And whose voice was it? Charlotte's. Wilbur wasn't sure about Charlotte at the beginning. Charlotte he thought was bloodthirsty, which means that she likes what? Yes, she traps insects for their blood. He wasn't quite sure about Wilbur, about Charlotte, but we will find out that Wilbur and Charlotte will become the best of friends. If you found your PDF, we're on page 52, or if you have a copy of the book at home, look on with that with me, okay? Now listen carefully if you don't have your copy, because you have to take the quizzes from what we read in class. On Sunday morning, Mr. and Mrs. Arable and Fern were sitting at breakfast in the kitchen. Avery, which is Fern's brother, had finished and was upstairs looking for his slingshot. Did you know that Uncle Homer's goslings had hatched? Asked Fern. How many? Asked Mr. Arable. 7, replied Fern. There were 8 eggs, and 1 egg didn't hatch. And the goose told Templeton she didn't want it anymore, so he took it away. The goose did what? Said Mrs. Arable, gazing at her daughter with a queer, worried look. And Fern says, told Templeton she didn't want the egg anymore, repeated Fern. Who is Templeton? Asked Mrs. Arable. He's the rat, replied Fern. None of us like him much. Who's us? Asked Mr. Arable. Well, everybody in the barn cellar. Wilbur and the sheep and the lambs and the goose and the gander and the goslings and Charlotte and me. Charlotte? Asked Mrs. Arable. Who's Charlotte? She's Wilbur's best friend. She's terribly clever. What does she look like? Said Mrs. Arable. Well, said Fern thoughtfully, she has 8 legs. I guess all spiders do. Charlotte is a spider? Asked Fern's mother. Fern nodded. A big gray one. She has a web across the top of Wilbur's doorway. She catches flies and sucks their blood. And Wilbur adores her. Do you know what the word adores means? Loves her very much. Does he really? Said Mrs. Arable rather vaguely. She was staring at Fern with a worried expression on her face. Now think about why Mrs. Arable, Fern's mom, might be worried about her daughter. Anybody have an idea? Do children usually come home and say that they've heard animals talk? Not usually. Not usually. Well, does it? Oh, yes, Wilbur adores Charlotte, said Fern. Do you know what Charlotte said when the goslings hatched? I have not the faintest idea, said Mr. Arable. Tell us. Well, said Fern, when the first gosling stuck its little head out from under the goose, I was sitting on my stool in the corner, and Charlotte was on her web. She made a speech, and she said this: I am sure that every one of us here in the barn cellar will be gratified to learn that after 4 weeks of unremitting effort and patience on the part of the goose, she now has something to show for it. And Fern says, don't you think that was a pleasant thing for her to say? Yes, I do, said Mrs. Arable. And now, Fern, it's time to get ready for Sunday school. And tell Avery to get ready. And this afternoon, you can tell me more about what goes on in Uncle Homer's barn. Aren't you spending quite a lot of time there? You go there almost every afternoon, don't you? Said her mother. I like it there, replied Fern. She wiped her mouth and ran upstairs. After she had left the room, Mrs. Arable spoke in a low voice to her husband. I worry about Fern, her mother said. Did you hear the way she rambled on about the animals, pretending that they talked? Mr. Arable chuckled, which means that he what? He laughed. Maybe they do talk, he said. I have sometimes wondered. At any rate, don't worry about Fern. She's just got a lively imagination. Kids think they hear all sorts of things. Well, just the same, I do worry about her, said her mother, Mrs. Arable. I think that I shall ask Dr. Dorian about her the next time that I see him. He loves Fern almost as much as we do, and I want him to know how queerly she's acting about that pig and everything. I don't think that it's normal. You know perfectly well that animals don't talk, she said. Mr. Arable grinned. Maybe our ears are not as sharp as Fern's. We're leaving off today on chapter 7. Okay. Now, Mrs. Gaylor wants to look at a few things with the story parts. Okay. What do we call the place that the story takes place? What do we call that in a book? We call that the setting. Very good. Okay, the setting. All right. So let's take the setting today and just go into that a little bit more today. Miss Gaylord's going to make another Venn diagram. Do you remember last week we talked about the compare and contrast? And what do we call the part that's in the middle? That's the compare part, the same. What do we call the parts on the outside? The contrast. Very good. Okay, let's talk about the barnyard where they live, and the barn cellar, and let's talk about Fern's home, okay? All right. Can you give me some examples of some things that could possibly go into the compare and contrast part of the story? All right, you want to talk about what's in common, okay? What is in common with both places? Okay. How about Fern? Fern visits both places. It says that she goes to the barnyard when? After school every day. And then, of course, she lives where? At home. Okay. All right. So, can we compare these two settings a little bit more? Besides Fern being at both, what are some things that you could contrast maybe about the two settings? Okay. All right. So the barn is where Fern goes in the afternoon. Good. Okay. To visit. And her home is where she spends the night, right? Okay. All right. So what is there to do at the barn that there's not to do at home? Okay. At the barn, she gets to watch. What is the word called that we use to watch someone from afar, maybe? Observe, right? Observe. She gets to observe what's going on with the animals, okay? At home, she gets to probably do what she normally does. What are the things you do at home that you do to help out around your house? Okay, she probably has some chores to do for her mom, okay? Does she spend time with someone else at the barn? Okay, who does she see at the barn? She sees her animal friends. Do you know some of the animals that are her friends? Can you name some of them? The sheep, the goose, the gander, the 7 goslings, right? Who's the crafty rat that took one of the eggs that was a dud? Templeton. Good. And the two people that she likes to watch most, it seems, are who? Wilbur and Charlotte. Very good. Okay. At home, she doesn't have those animals to go home with her. Instead, she has who at home? She has her family. Very good. Okay. All right. Very good. When you think about comparing and contrast, we'll do this a little bit more. Today, we talked about setting, the setting of a story. Okay. How about the word that are when you think about looking into the future, about what may happen? Remember the tenses that we've learned? If it's already happened, it's called the past. If it's happening now, it's called the present. And if it will be happening, we call that the the future. Okay? Can you make a prediction about what may happen if you have not read the book? I know one or two of you might have read the book already. Can you make a prediction maybe about what could possibly happen in the future? Think about that and tell someone is at home as well. If you think you might know already or have some ideas. It's always fun to make a list of things that could happen, that may be happening or maybe not happening. Okay? All right, very good. Okay, so if you'd like to read ahead into chapter 8, we're going to start tomorrow with good. Let's see what chapter. No, it'll be chapter, let's see. We read up to 50. Yes. We read up to 54. Okay. We read up to 54. So if you want to start, that would be chapter 9. You can look ahead at chapter 9. Okay. All right. Well, you got your last star today. Miss Gaylord found you 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Okay. You've been doing a great job keeping up. Don't forget the daily website work. Last week, only about half or less did their iReady, and the rest of you have a 0 in the grade book. You did not put in your 80 minutes for reading or your 80 minutes for math, okay? So make sure that you're doing the daily website work. Are you working on your fact fluency cards? Are you working on someone calling out your addition, subtraction tables? You need to. You can write them down. You can have somebody make a quiz for you daily. You could print one out on the internet. Have somebody ask you, what's 9 minus 6? What's 10 plus 7? And make a quiz all the way up. You should know all the way up through 20 very easily. You should be able to do it quickly. 11 plus 8, 7 minus 4. And you should know it very quickly. Please keep sharp with your facts. You can always get on MobyMax and do the fact fluency there, and you can continue to work on your facts as well. Okay. Thank you so much for being a good participant today, and thank you again for those that are doing their part. We've got a handful of you who are on the ball. You are doing the lessons every day. You are turning things in. Thank you so much. It will pay off for you at the beginning of next year, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Miss Gaylor will see you guys tomorrow, okay? Goodbye.